Hello and welcome back to the continuation of our color theory series on my channel. So if you're new to this series, I've been going through some videos that kind of give this foundation for improving your Sims 4 designs. Throughout this video, I'm going to be sharing tips on choosing the right color schemes and how to apply them in your builds, and to generally just create a process and thinking through what you're trying to do with your builds. And so for today, we're going to be diving into how to create a more balanced design in using different color schemes, which is also known as color harmony. So I might use the word color schemes and color harmony interchangeably here. So color harmony isn't just about picking the right colors, it's also trying to create this effective balance that lends more cohesion to a room to make it feel inviting or to convey the feeling you want it to convey. And with that, I will say that this is all subjective. Design of any aspect is subjective. So I'm not coming here to say you have to do it this way, this is the only way, this is the right way. You can do whatever you want. I'm just going to be going through some best practices to get you started if sometimes you struggle with combining different color schemes. So I touched on it just a bit ago, but what exactly is color harmony? It's all about the visually appealing arrangement of colors that work together to create balance and flow into a space. I think it's good that whenever you're building your homes, you don't just think of it as room to room to room, but how the rooms can work collectively and flow into one another, especially when you have like open concept rooms with living, kitchen, and dining areas. That can get a little bit tricky to how you can actually define spaces, even though they're all open, without just using the same exact colors in every single room. And with that, there are several ways to achieve color harmony. Today, we're going to be focusing on 5 popular types, which is monochromatic, complementary, analogous, triadic, and tetradic. And I know some of those words might sound a little daunting, but just stay with me. There are more than these 5, and there are a lot of different versions of these 5. So think of these 5 things as kind of umbrella terms for a lot of different variations that can fall under them. And so for the first tip, before we even dive in, I would say think about the mood you want your room to have. Do you want it to feel calm, energetic, balanced? Your choice of color harmony can set the tone for the entire space. So let's start with the easiest one out of all of them, which is the monochromatic. This is a really great color harmony for clean, elegant spaces. And so think of your modern homes, for instance. This is probably one of the easiest ones, and that's because it only uses really one color. So this scheme uses different shades, tints, and tones of a single color to create a more cohesive, elegant look. And the key here is to mix a variety of lighter and darker versions of that same color to add depth and interest to the space. In this example, you can see a lot of blue, right? When you first look at the picture, but you have a lot of different shades of blue. You have a darker blue, a dark tone blue, and some of the furniture and the curtains, and then the crown molding at the top. And then you have lighter shades of blue, like a powder blue, and then you have like a gray blue hue and color that's throughout the room as well. So this is a good example of monochromatic. So throughout this video, you're gonna see this room a lot, but different variations of it. This is a room that I built in one of my recent homes that I actually renovated from a restaurant to a home. And it's supposed to be like a teen's bedroom kind of vibe. Now the windows didn't carry over, so you see some weird spaces here, but we're just going to pretend like it copied and pasted over just beautifully. And I had an axolotl here and it disappeared too, which is kind of sad because I love axolotls. But anyway, this is the room that we're going to work with. This is nothing in particular to monochromatic. I'm just trying to show you what it's starting as. And so one thing we're also going to use throughout this video is Adobe Color. I find this to be an extremely valuable tool, and I'll link it down in the description below if you ever want to play with it. But you can upload a picture and it'll pull different color schemes for you. So I uploaded a picture of this bedroom, and you can see that it pinpoints certain colors that it kind of sees as primary colors in the room, and you can change kind of the scheme you're going for, and it'll draw on different colors throughout the picture to get that. I'm going to stick with colorful throughout this video for the example of this room. We're going to head over to color wheel, and you can see that these are the same 5 colors, but it has a lot of options over it. I'm going to select, I don't want a brown color to be the base. Normally I leave the middle color as the base color. And what this means is that the color harmony rules are based on the base color that you have set. So I'm going to choose this pink color because I want something that's fun more so as my base color. And you can see there's a little arrow here. So it's selected that to be kind of the foundational color moving forward. So what you can do, you can see all of the color harmonies up here, but we're going to focus on monochromatic for this example, and it will automatically, based on your base color, which you can see in the upper right hand. I know I'm covering up some of the color palette here, but it'll keep that base color and it'll select the monochromatic tone. So you can see in the color wheel here, and this is why I love this tool, you can actually see how it's spacing the colors out, and you can see they're in a straight line. So monochromatic is using one color, but then different shades and variations of that color. And so you often can get a lot of browns and black tones as well. And that's kind of what we get here. So just keep in mind whenever we go through this example I'm about to walk you through, we are beholden to whatever we can do in The Sims, which has limited color swatches for a lot of items. So whenever I did monochromatic for this bedroom, this is what I ended up getting. So it's mainly focused around pink, that pink color, but then different tones of it, which mixes in a lot of different brown colors and variations. So you can see that the brown is very pervasive throughout this build, but also the faint pink color is one of the main primary actual colors that we have in the room outside of a neutral tone. And so I tried to tie that in throughout this bedroom, but it kind of lends a more kind of elegant and sophisticated look to it. Keep in mind, this is a child's bedroom, so it's kind of hard to give that a super elegant look whenever you have clutter and mess everywhere. But this is what we would kind of convert and think of with monochromaticism from the original. One thing I did too was try to pull from the gallery other people's builds. So here's another example of a monochromatic room. It's a lot of black and white and gray tones. I want to highlight here, monochromatic does not always mean black, white, or brown. And I say this because whenever you go into the gallery and look at monochromatic builds, more often than not, you just see a lot of blacks, whites, grays, browns. Monochromaticism does not mean neutral tones. You can have a monochromatic yellow room, you can have a monochromatic pink room, a monochromatic red room. And so that's one of my pet peeves, I guess, right now with the gallery, is that it was hard to try to find something that had color to it, because a lot of time people just think of monochromaticism as being browns and blacks, which it's not. But I thought this was a really cute, like, realm of magic bedroom with blacks, grays, and whites. And this leads me to the fact that monochromatic schemes are perfect for minimalist, modern, or serene spaces where you want a clean, unified feel. But they also work specifically well in bedrooms, bathrooms, or any room where you want to keep things simple and sophisticated. So this leads me to my next tip, which is to avoid flat or boring looks and mix in different textures and patterns. So think velvet, wood, or woven fabrics within the same color family. And this will keep the room visually interesting while still maintaining that seamless monochromatic vibe that we're going for. So now if you're looking for something with a little bit more contrast, we're going to move to the complementary color scheme and see how it can make your designs pop. Complementary harmony is all about contrast and bold statements. So complementary colors are directly opposite to one another on the color wheel, like blue and orange, red and green, yellow and purple. This scheme can create a really vibrant look because the colors naturally intensify each other. So it's perfect when you want your designs to stand out. So like in this photo that ChatGPT gave, blue and orange are complementary. You can see how blue is like serving as a primary color. That's the foundation of the room. It's a lot more prevalent, but then orange provides this nice vibrant pop. And you can even see that orange was like an accent wall on the left side of the image. So essentially it's like using artwork or cushions and things of that nature to bring that second complementary color into light. So now getting back to our handy tool here, we're going to look at what it shows for complementary. So you can see right here in the color wheel how the color directly opposite to our pink color that we had in the original photo is this minty green color that we get. And then in between there, you have some different kind of tones of brown that go in to get you from this pink to this green. So it's kind of a cool crosswalk across the color wheel and what you're doing with complementary color schemes. So upon first sight, you might be thinking, wait, this is the original room. It's very similar, but it's a little bit different because you don't want as much yellow necessarily. And so I cut the yellow back in this and really highlighted the green and pink. So a lot of the yellow was converted to this minty green color. And I think it provides a really kind of cooler space in the sense of color temperature, which was in our last video where we discussed that. So I'll link that down below too if you want to catch that video. And so the pink and green are predominant in this space, but since I kept the wallpaper, again, trying to just be beholden to what was in the original room, this was the best wallpaper swatch for this color. So since it had yellow, I was like, well, I can still tie yellow in as an accent color, which is kind of the point. With these color harmonies, you don't have to stick to them to a T. You can have an accent color to pop it a little bit more. And I think the yellow does that really well because it's not super prominent in the room. It's primarily green and pink with a little bit of yellow. But then you can go over to this room that I pulled down from the gallery, which is definitely more of a literal complementary color scheme with the purple and yellow being pervasive throughout the whole room. But again, it lends to a really kind of cool eclectic vibe. So complementary schemes work best when used in moderation, often for accent walls, decor pieces, or to highlight focal points in a room. Too much can feel overwhelming, so you need to balance the bold complementary pairs with neutrals to keep the space grounded. And so here you can see I changed the floor color and the door color to this gray tone to keep it a little more neutral. The nightstand over here, it has white, which is very neutral. And then these walls are a really, really faint pink color, which serves as a great neutral tone as well. You want to be careful with overdoing it because there is too much of a good thing. And I think with here, that's where it becomes a little problematic for me, is that the walls are even this really dark kind of purple. And the only neutral tone you get is in the floor and the bed, which is still better than nothing, right? So that is one thing they did really well, at least, was incorporating a neutral tone floor and bed, because that otherwise would be a little bit heavy if you were to say, let's make the bed purple as well, or something like that. So that leads me to the next tip, which is when using the complementary color scheme, introduce neutral tones like white, gray, or beige to soften the look and prevent the colors from clashing. Again, complementary colors are powerful in and of themselves, so when you combine them, it can be very overwhelming very quickly, and neutrals help break up that intensity a good bit so it doesn't feel quite so bold, and it makes it feel more balanced and livable. Now, if complementary colors feel a little too bold for you and you're a little nervous to combine colors like that, don't worry. The next scheme that we're going to discuss is Analogous, and it offers a lot more of a subtle, harmonious approach. And so Analogous color harmony is great for creating smooth designs, and these colors are next to one another on the color wheel. So like blue, blue, green, and green, or red, red, orange, and orange. The primary pro for using an analogous color scheme is that they create a cohesive look a lot more easily because the colors naturally blend into one another. So like in this picture, you see a combination of blues and greens. So it's kind of like you get the blue, you get the teal, and then you get the green. So it's a really nice way to combine color schemes. And this is a really great color harmony to consider whenever you have a specific temperature in mind for your room. So we again discussed color temperature in the last video, but in this photo, this would be a cool color temperature, and it works really well together because they are next to one another on the color wheel. So coming back to our handy dandy tool here, we're going to now select Analogous. And you can see right off the bat, it's like this nice arch across the color wheel with our primary color being right front and center. So it stretches across this kind of yellow-orange color into this more magenta kind of color. And so this is the color swatch down here. So it's a lot of like pink-orange kind of corally colors. And so for that, this is what I turned the bedroom into. I actually really like this. I think it's kind of a fun vibe. Now, again, it was hard to get the right kind of colors to match with the Analogous color scheme for this particular pink color that we had. But you can see that I incorporated a little bit more of the red tone. So it's kind of like shifting that arch a little bit one way more so to make it work a little bit better. But I tried my best with the objects that we have in the game. But you can see that it's just a lot of like red and pink tones around the entire room. And it can be overwhelming at first because it's a lot of the same color. So you might be like, well, isn't this monochromatic? Well, not quite, because you have a lot of different variations of the tone. So I like even tried to bring in that magenta color, which is more purple, pink color over here. But then you have more muted tones of the red, and then you also have pink. So it's different colors. Monochromatic, it would all be like variations of one color. So just keep that in mind. And so this is kind of what the bedroom turned into, which I think lends a little more of a maturity. That's what I kind of get whenever I go from the original bedroom over here with this. This seems like very childish in comparison to whenever you get to this bedroom. There's just a more sophisticated look to it, I think, and it just flows a little bit better. You don't get that like kind of chaotic feeling, even though it's the same kind of mess on the floor and things like that. It seems a little calmer in a way. From the gallery, I actually chose this because this is an analogous color scheme. It's a little more dramatic and spaced out. So if you think of your color wheel, it uses orange, green, and yellow. So it's like a wider arch. So we have this arch here, which is kind of close together. All the colors are kind of stacked on top of each other. So imagine just kind of broadening your arch across this part of the color wheel. That's what we're getting with here. And again, very limited options whenever you start searching things like analogous color bedroom or something like that on The Sims. So this is what we're getting though, which is a good example. It's just stretching that across the color wheel a little bit more. So yellow, orange, and green is pervasive in this bedroom, which kind of lends to a really fun, eclectic vibe almost with especially this rug area over here. So because this color harmony is very seamless, because the colors kind of mix and blend in really well together, they're ideal for spaces where you want that seamless connected vibe, like in an open concept living space or bedrooms or any other room where you want a calm and inviting atmosphere. They're less about contrast and more about creating this sense of flow from one color to the next. So keep in mind that Analogous can work really well in those open concept builds where you have your living room maybe flowing into your dining, which flows into your kitchen. So that leads me to my next tip, which is to pick one color as your dominant hue and use the others as accents to keep the design feel balanced and not too matchy. Keep in mind in that bedroom, I actually kind of added red. That wasn't one of the colors that was in that arch. It's like a close relative to the pink. So that added a little more contrast without going completely left field and like throwing a blue into the mix or something like that. Again, you can do that if you want to. This is all subjective, but this is just a nice way to keep it feeling a little more flowy with the color that you're originally starting with. So now that we've talked about Analogous, we have a couple more left, and Analogous is all about that harmony. But now if you're wanting to add a little more energy to your design, Triadic color schemes offer a balanced but vibrant alternative. And the nice thing with that is that it creates this balanced look without going too overboard. So Triadic color schemes use 3 colors. Makes sense, right? But they're evenly spaced around the color wheel. So you can think like red, blue, and yellow. Your primary colors are evenly spaced around the color wheel. And then you have purple, green, and orange as another set of triadic colors. So these color schemes create lively, balanced designs because all 3 colors are equally spaced, which provides contrast but without clashing. So I know this room's a little chaotic. ChatGPT is not the best at creating some of these types of color harmonies. And we've talked about doing a room in all primary colors in my very first video on this series, which is also linked down below. The primary takeaway for this is that you want to balance a space around 3 colors. Since these are all bold colors, you'd want your wall to maybe just be one color. So making all of this blue around the entire back wall and the console area on the left would already make this room work so much better. Or bringing the red around to that back part on the right and making all of that red would make it look so much better. You just need the balance. So you want your other 2 colors to be more accent colors versus having all of them equally as vibrant and present around the room. This is kind of making me think of my pictures back here. So now going back to our tool here, if we were to select Triad, you can see right here how it's evenly spaced. So because this was our foundational color, our base color, it evenly spaces out the point over here on the color wheel and then this one. So this is where we start to get more interesting colors into the mix. I love triadic color schemes. I think they're so much fun. But you have this pink and then it kind of devolves in between here with this like bluish gray color and this gray color, but then you get a vibrant green and this vibrant pretty blue. And so now for arguably the biggest transition of this room so far, the triadic color scheme is a super cool vibe to me. I love this. I think it's a really cool combination of colors with the green, the purple, and the pink. How did this work? So the wallpaper is actually using a triadic color scheme. So we have this kind of cool tone grayish purple color for the bed, and I incorporated the green a little bit more so throughout the bedroom here. And I love this green swatch. I think the green really helps liven it up a little bit more because it's such a dark color scheme otherwise. So that's kind of like your accent color of choice with this that you want to kind of pop and bring out wherever you can. And then the pink is so soft. I think that's the color you can have more predominantly throughout the bedroom. I just opted to have the purple because I wanted something a little bit different since the original room was so pink and had so much pink in it already. And then one example from the gallery too was this. Now, keep in mind, it's hard to search triadic color scheme or 3-color room. Like, people don't think that way as much when they're doing their builds, but this was one that intentionally chose a purple, yellow, and blue color scheme that kind of works really well. It's very simple with how they did it, but they did it very tastefully in the build. So they chose this pinkish purple color to be the bed, and then the rug kind of ties in all of the colors. They brought the yellow in with a pop here, and then the dresser matches this color with the bed. So they kind of had that be the dominant color for the room. And then this painting kind of ties it in a little bit better too. So I don't know, I thought that was kind of a tasteful way of doing a similar type of color harmony. So triadic schemes are great for spaces that need energy, playfulness, like kids' rooms, creative workspaces, or any area you want to inject some fun. And maybe that's why I like it so much, is because it does work really well for a kid's bedroom. So keep that in mind when you're doing your kids' rooms and things like that. That triadic color schemes work really well for those rooms. And it's mainly because they're dynamic and colorful, but still have this balance that keeps the design cohesive. And so this leads me to my next tip, which is to keep the space from feeling too chaotic, choose one color as the dominant shade and use the other two as accents. So I had purple kind of as the predominant shade with some pink and then a little bit of green as the accent. Now, if you're craving even more variety with your color schemes, we're going to go into the Tetradic color scheme, which adds a little extra complexity. So these are also known as double complementary schemes, and they're perfect for if you love variety and want to play with multiple colors. With this common theme that we've seen throughout the video, Tetradic uses 4 colors that are arranged in 2 complementary pairs. So it's kind of like blue and orange with red and green, which might sound a little bit crazy at first, but let's go check it out real quick. But this color harmony offers a more rich and diverse palette, adding lots of depth and interest to the design. So it's ideal when you want to make a really bold statement. And so again, with ChatGPT, this one's a little bit chaotic and crazy, but in the picture you can actually see kind of the colors it drew from, or the red, orange, and blue, and then this kind of bluish green color created. The patterns are a little crazy. The color schemes there, it's just the patterns are a little hectic. So again, I would have done like a solid wall color, and then I feel like even if you left everything else as it is, that would have helped so much if all the wall was just like that light blue color. So here we're going to go to square. This is a type of tetradic color scheme. Tetradic just means like 4 points primarily. So you could have a rectangle. If you wanted to have a rectangular color scheme, you could do that. This is just one version of Tetradic though. So you can see that it's very similar to Triad, where it evenly spaces 4 points around that base color that you wanted to select and work with. So now, if you remember from Triadic, we had the purple, we had a type of green and a pink. Now it's thrown yellow into the mix because it's evenly spacing these out around this color. So it adds an extra color that blends well with the other colors, which I think is a really cool way to like go through. If you're looking at a room and you're like, I feel like there's a color missing, or I could add another color here to make it more interesting and fun, this is a great way to do that. So take a picture of it, upload it to this tool, and it can give you that 4th color that you might be looking for. And so this is the version of the Tetradic that I use for this. So we have the purple and the green, the minty green color that's pervasive throughout. I know I've said pervasive a lot, but it's just a good way to say a lot of a color. But I have the pink more as an accent in this one because I wanted to keep this fun purple wallpaper. So the purple and green are the primary colors for this scheme, and then the pink and the yellow are accent colors. So I put yellow on the walls, and that's primarily the only place you really see yellow. I put it in the pillow here as a decorative element. The cubes over here, a couple of them are yellow, and then the shelf is yellow. But other than that, it's pretty tamed with the yellow color and the pink color being primarily the pieces of furniture. So the bed and this couch. That's pretty much the only pink, with a little bit on the shelf here and the mirror. But that's a really fun way to kind of take the triadic and make it have a little more dynamic feel to it. So if you were looking at this and it's like, it seems a little dark, right? There's a lot of kind of dark hues and tones. What could I do? And I actually had a little bit of yellow here, which kind of hinted at, maybe that's why I like that swatch of that rug actually. But I think it just takes it to another level where it looks really, really pretty and has a lot more of a fun, creative feel to it. This was, of course, really hard to find on the gallery, but this does a really nice job too of creating a lot of different colors. So you have like a purple blue, green, and yellow color scheme, and this one as a kind of tetradic color harmony. And I think it works really well because the primary kind of chaotic part of it is in the rug, but then everything else is a solid color, which helps not make it feel too chaotic and busy. So keep in mind one of the earlier tips where I said you want to like incorporate different textures. This is a good example of that because you have a lot of different colors going on, but you're incorporating like this kind of fabric texture with this kind of smooth tone texture. You have a wood texture with the mirror, and then it's like with the purple, you have this kind of plush kind of texture with the cat tree, and then you have a leaf texture with the yellow. So this has a lot of different textures in it, and I think that's why it works really well for this simple of a room. So tetradic color harmony is great for large open spaces as well, where you can spread the colors out a little bit more without it feeling too crowded. So this is another example where maybe even in an open living concept, living room, dining, and kitchen, you can incorporate a tetradic color scheme to kind of spread them out so it doesn't feel too chaotic all at once. I do think it's fun for a kid's bedroom though too, because I think kids' bedrooms are supposed to be a little chaotic, so it's kind of fun to do there. But it does help from the colors feeling a little overcrowded because you are working with a lot more color, which can make it feel too much. But if you want to do an eclectic design, Tetradic is the way to go because that's an easy way to get a lot of colors that can work well together without you having to kind of pick and choose and go through that process of elimination, which you shouldn't have to do. It just helps create a vibrant layered look more easily. So this leads me to my last tip for this video, which is that with so many colors in play, balance is crucial. So you again want to use neutrals like white, gray, or soft browns to tone things down and keep the space from feeling overwhelming. But I did just that. That's why I made the nightstand brown with this green color, because it was a neutral that kind of matched the door and the floor. So I kept the floor, the door, and the nightstand brown to provide more neutral tones. And this yellow also had a brown baseboard, and this wallpaper also has a brown baseboard. So it kind of helped ground the chaotic color scheme a little bit more, having that neutral tone there. Same is true here, where you have this white flooring, the carpet right here, with like a brown wall. So again, it helps kind of keep things from feeling a little too chaotic all at once. And then similar to the other color schemes, another trick with Tetradic is to let one color dominate and use the other three more sparingly to maintain that harmony. Tetradic color harmony can be a lot of fun with endless possibilities, but remember, balance is key to making these colors work together beautifully. So I know this video has been a lot, and I just want to do a quick recap. So we started with monochromatic schemes, which are great for a clean, cohesive look using one color in different shades and tones. And then we moved to complementary schemes, which are perfect for bold, high contrast designs that make elements pop. Next, we looked at analogous schemes, which offers smooth transitions and harmony by using colors next to one another on the color wheel. And then triadic schemes balance vibrant colors evenly spaced around the wheel, adding energy and playfulness. And then finally, we discussed tetradic schemes, which mix two pairs of complementary colors for a more complex, rich design. So just keep in mind overall from this video, if anything, that each scheme has its strengths, and the key is to experiment and find what works best for your build. And don't be afraid to play around with different combinations to see what speaks to you. In the next video in this series, we're going to be diving into the psychology of color, and we'll explore how different colors affect mood and behavior and how you can use that knowledge to create spaces that not only look great, but also match just right for your Sims. So if you want to stick around for that one, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. And if you found this video helpful and enjoyed it, then please like it and comment with your favorite color scheme. Like, what do you naturally gravitate toward? Like, what colors do you love using to set the mood in your Sims 4 builds? And if you want to actually look at the house where this bedroom that I used as the example in the video is, I'll link that video down below as well. And with that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye. Oh my gosh, I just finished this video and it has 52 minutes of footage. I don't know how I can talk about this for so long, but I really enjoy it and I hope you all do too.